got it. So we're 3 minutes past the hour. So let's get started. Thank you for joining the call. The team, I see there's a few of you online here, and we have Ray and Susan and Michael here in the room with us. So thanks for coming in, guys. Let's get on with business here. So if you want to skip to the next slide, Lauren. I'll officially formally call the meeting to order at 17:03, which means we don't have to change last month's minutes. Good luck with that. So first order of business is last month's minutes have been circulated. Last month's minutes. Are you there? Excuse me a minute. Last month's minutes have been circulated, so the board have all had a chance to review those, and if somebody could make a motion to approve last month's minutes.
So moved.
I second.
All in favour?
Aye.
Review last month's meeting minutes. If you want to move on to the next slide, Laurie, please. Hey, so for the President's update slide, I just want to talk for a few minutes about a subject which probably you all experienced, which is basically how busy is our course this year. So as you see there, the very simple answer is it's around 96% of 2021. And interestingly, 2021 was around 96% of 2020. So it's a little bit down, which I think is a good thing. When we redid the bylaws, we looked at the membership cap very carefully. And one of the things that we decided that was behind that calculation was we picked 2020 as a kind of a high watermark. We didn't want to be any busier than that. So it's kind of nice now that we're a little bit lower than that, which is actually pretty interesting because we actually have more members now. So I think there's a bit of a COVID effect with my guess of people going back to work and not being available to golf so much whilst they're working from home. So the other interesting thing is a comparison with 2019. So we're this year at 138% of 2019. So again, I think that's a good thing. I mean, it was wonderful in 2019. You could go play golf pretty well whenever you wanted, but that was probably a going bust model. So the fact that we've been Lana's been extremely successful in recruiting new members, and some of those tee times are now being taken up, I think it is a good thing, even if it's a little more of a challenge to get the tee time done. I should say in those numbers, if you're looking at them, I've excluded on Monday. So there's clearly a couple of holidays which we are playing on Mondays, but in general, Mondays are tournaments and outside play. Next slide, please. Oh, actually, go back one. So the one anomaly to the slightly reducing count you'll see is July, which has a bigger number, 4,600 versus last year's 4,339. The reason for that is that this year July included 5 Fridays, Saturday, Sundays, and it includes an end invitational, which was counted in this year's round. In prior years, those records weren't stored in 14, so that's why you see that slide. All right, thank you, Laurie. Next slide, please. So what's the busiest day of the week and the busiest hour of the day? This is also kind of interesting. So you can see here that looking at the vertical columns here, the busiest days of the week by some measure are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, this is 2022 data. April through July, again, excluding Mondays. And Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all pretty equal. Friday is actually slightly busy, which I think is interesting. And the busiest time, no surprise that is busiest first thing in the morning. But kind of slightly surprising is the fact that Friday lunchtimes turns out to be the busiest time. And what I've done is those early AM is 7 AM to 10:30 lunches, 10:30 till 2. 2 is the early afternoon slot when we see all the professional members. So it will be interesting to get back, but I don't have that data here, but if you look at 2019 pre-professional members, that number was way lower. We are staff members were extremely quiet, but it's pretty interesting to see that. Next slide, please, Ira. And you know, who's playing? Guests versus members. Actually, the first thing at the top right, you see male versus female adults. And the ratio is pretty well close to 2 to 1. So 2 adult rounds to every 1 female round, which is an interesting stat. And the guests around 2,500 versus member rounds of 11,000. It's interesting when you look at our guest rounds, if you look at the bottom panel there, you see our guest rounds are pretty well stabilized 2020, 2021, 2022. Guest rounds are running around 23% of membership rounds. I think the only interesting thing there is it dropped off pretty significantly in 2019, where they were 33%. So one in 3 rounds was a guest round versus now it's 1 to every 12. All right, last slide, please, Aaron. And you know, how busy is that course? Just brief conclusions. First thing I should say, we look at this pretty carefully because it's interesting. You know, we might get things here that we need to attend to, so it's important to watch this. So brief conclusions here. Despite the increase in membership number, the course is less busy than a COVID peak. So we feel that our cap, the fact that we've allowed our cap to increase by 5% is a good thing. We are close to our desired capacity, so we need to watch that. We need to pay attention to what's going on with tea times. Third thing, there's simple actions like the 8-minute tea times on Saturday and Sunday. Although that only introduced an additional 12 slots in those days. If you look at the cheat sheet on Saturday and Sunday, we pretty routinely find open slots there. So it's actually very effective. So small things can make a difference. And I guess the last point is the course is pretty full at busy times. So pace of play is really important. We need to focus on that. If somebody screws up, then a whole bunch of people will ignore that. Anyway, that's how busy our course is. Anybody have any questions? Okay, cool. Oh, Mike with us.
Yeah, I was wondering, in terms about pace of play, and they've been giving us a little, our golf carts to track our time.
Yes.
How has that been working? For the most part, are they happy with it or?
Yeah, so we've gathered some pretty good data, and through that data, we've learned through the course of about 2,400 member track rounds. But overall, you know, we do have a communicational display issue, but generally it's going pretty well. With 75% of our playing at or better than display. But also it's helping us see the day of when there is an issue, and being able to get out there and have a conversation with a group that's having trouble earlier on. And if we can see it on the mid hole rather than the 9th hole, it helps us strategize the situations. Yeah. Or,
Okay. All right. Key decisions and votes. You'll have seen the note we sent out. It was a couple of weeks back about the land sliver that should sail up way beyond the 4th green and the back of the 15th. So we formally approved that to the board today, and that sail will be going through. I think before the end of March. That will be done. So just to recoup, we'll lose that bit of land, which is incredibly hard to find, and there's no use whatsoever. And we'll have $35,000, which we're going to bring it to the capital, right? Okay. Next slide, please, Ryan. Okay, finance.
That's me. That's okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, so July 31st, financial results are 7 months into the year. We ended up. Let me see those numbers up there. Ended up having a net operating income of $142,000. That's $42,000 better than our budget. You can see that those things were better in higher operating revenue, and our expenses are slightly above, but our revenue is tracking higher than, income to cover that. So our capital revenue, which is driven by initiation fees being collected, is above budget also, by a substantial amount. Was really great that through the end of June, we possibly had some concerns. You're seeing higher payroll, higher cost, slower increases of sales, but in July, we really made up that. There's some departments, food and beverage, that may have over half their loss difference. So that was 28,000 at the end of June, and now it's $11,000 loss over budget. So really good substantial strides there, and we would say a solid budget month for what our actions were. That's how we can make that up. So another factor that was really strong in food and beverage was a large wedding at the end of July that resulted in the best beverage package they could buy, a large count. So still sticking to that one wedding a month is really important for our financials, but also limits the ability or the amount of times that you guys are outside of the club because we have a wedding. So it's really nice to see that kind of work come together for the food and beverage team. Let's see, and I said, we came up with food and beverage had reduced their deficit for the year so far. We're now almost at budget from the loss, and we're looking forward to having a forecast update to budget in the September meeting. Just going through, scrubbing all those details. How do we do for the first 7 months? And how do we think we'll project for the next 5? This really helps us out. It's pretty important when it comes to planning for our capital increases or dollars. So we can do some projects maybe at the end of the year, but also making sure that we end the year in our operating balance to positive. We're always watching food cost of goods sold. Dan's going to go over some of those details a little bit more, and then a big thing that we're going to plan with the forecast are the details around weddings and events that are going to finish out our year that we have some things budgeted for. So you can see each department and how they're doing with their expenses and income overall. That gets us to the $149,000 operating income. We had the men's invitational, of course, in July. Solid turnout for that also. Ray, did you want to contribute any conversation to that?
I can do it here or at the end, however you want it.
Sure, here,
sounds
would be perfect.
Well, working with Lori and with Keith, we looked at what the tournament does for the club from a financial aspect. In years past, we typically financial impact was around 20,000. I think this year we'll be getting closer to 16,000 on a positive basis. As Lori and I looked through the reasons why, I think she referred to labor costs being higher than we had anticipated going into 2022, and of course food costs. We saw our Thursday meal go from $29 to $45 per person the week before the tournament. And that was strictly because of the piece of meat that had been ordered, and when it got delivered, the price was through the roof. But we were able to absorb it, and that's one of the reasons why the contribution is a little bit less. We were at a full tournament this year with 64 teams. Feedback I've gotten from participants has been very positive. A couple changes we made is on the shootout on Saturday, the finals, we just changed number 9 to a par 3 and went through that 3 times, and that was very well received. So generally that's it. We haven't finalized the numbers yet as far as financial contribution. There's a couple minor things we're looking at, but generally we don't expect a significant change to the number.
That's
Joel.
finances.
Yeah.
So before we hand over to Dan, I need a motion to through in July finance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favour? And
So Ray, well, first off, thank you, in the team's tremendous amount of work to put on a fantastic event once again this year. It's very much appreciated as far as for different work things, particularly my company had meetings for some years, so really my first chance, and not only myself and my guests, but just sort of, super impressed by literally every aspect of the invitation, honestly. So I'd say thank you, first of all. So some of your comments were a good segue to the slide as well. So the food and beverage operations were really important to us from a financial standpoint at the club. And so I thought I'd take a look as far as give a little bit more detail, not only some of the good news from an F&B standpoint this year, but also some of the challenges that we face and what we're trying to do to manage those challenges. Okay, so Lori mentioned we're right now for F&B, we're 11K behind our operating budget number. That's despite food sales being up by 16% and the alcohol sales up over 10%. And I think the good news there is that if you recall back in April, we actually lowered the prices particularly on the alcohol side, on some food items. And so for that to still be up by 10% is I think a great number. Ray made reference to it as far as, our F&B operation here faces the same challenges that you hear on the news, that you experience when you go out to meet folks in terms of whether it's staffing challenges and the prices being much higher. So some of the things that have been a challenge or headwinds for us on the F&B side is, first off, is that early in the year we proactively increased our cook pay. We are very fortunate to have a good team of cooks, very loyal to chef, and we wanted to make every effort to try to keep them in as far as, and then honestly, when we were out, trying to hire an additional cook, as far as we were below market. And so as far as instead of waiting for the addition after, so we addressed that proactively, and so far so good on that front. The second thing is that food costs are dramatically higher. To give you some specifics on that, so compared to last year this time, just on food, not alcohol, we spent 36% more than last year. Now, some of that is due because we have a much higher number of covers, right? In other words, people walking into the restaurant, certainly. However, the more important number is that we look at every year and really throughout the year is what's our cost of goods sold. In other words, what's the cost of the food that we buy divided by the price of the food that we sell. Okay? Last year it was 45%, which by the way was right at the median for clubs that look like Perry Park, which I think we did a good job. So far this year, that's increased by 7 percentage points. Okay, so now the cost of our food that we buy is 52% of the price that you pay, right? Now, so what does that mean? So if we were to buy the exact same amount that we bought last year, this year that cost us $15,000 more. Which, when you talk about essentially half the year, that's a lot of money on our F&B operation. We're doing a couple things to try to manage it. Or actually, hey, Chef, give us a couple examples, specific examples of what you paid last year for an item or two and what you're paying now this year.
All right, let's start with avocado. Avocado last year at this time, we were paying $27 a case. And that's a 20 to 24 counts case. Right now, we're paying $56 a case.
Wow.
Ketchup, just your normal catch-up, that's a 31% increase. We went from $39 a case to $51 a case. Just your normal, mild, cheddar cheese, that's a 23% increase from $29 to $35.
So, yeah, thanks. So, I think that those are some good examples. Really, as far as some of the stuff, limited, it's just the reality, but we are trying to manage it as best as we can. I think a couple of the key things we're doing are, first off, is I think Jeff doing a nice job of making sure, comparing the vendors for items and playing them off a little bit so that we feel a higher degree of confidence that, hey, maybe more, but let's at least make sure that we're getting the lowest price available on the market. Then the second thing that we're doing that's kind of interesting, it'll take us the time, I'd say we're still a little bit at the early stages, is developing some metrics around how much does it cost us back of the house as well as front of the house for to serve each person that walks in here. So that over time, we can gain a better understanding of what that number should look like by establishing a baseline. And then as we go forward, we should, we'll have a better sense as to how we're performing on that metric. Okay. At the end of the day, I think that, I think we're doing, Chef, team, Kevin, his team, we're doing a very good job of kind of, I think, accomplishing our goal. And that is that to offer our members a great dining experience at a good value versus local restaurants. So what I did is I thought, well, what's like a comparable restaurant? And so I'll say Castle Rock, and I picked Union Bistro, which I think, it's a casual place, but also still pretty good food, I would say. And so then, I just showed some of the items, and as you can see, so we're lower on most, really, I think substantially lower on beer now since we lowered the prices. Cheeseburger about the same as filet. But if you're gonna have a steak this weekend, have it here instead of Union at Union, you pay $12 less for that. So I say that as far as that, yes, we have a lot of headwinds out there. And I really congratulate the team as far as I think for us performing at a pretty high level despite the challenges that we face. So thank you to Jeff and thank you, Kevin, and to both all of your teams.
All right, there's no questions, so let's move on to featured employee of the month. And Keith, I think you're going to do this. Judging by how high Josh is, that photo must have been taken from a long way.
It's a long ways away. He's easily my height. So we won't read all the fun facts on Josh, but we'll get right into talking about him. I think most of you have come across Josh Reed in several different aspects. He's been on the team for 3 years now, and it's been really fun to watch him grow within those roles. So Josh started with very limited golf knowledge, but on the outside service team and looking for a summer job. Last year, we started to bring him back into the golf shop just a little bit and play some support roles. And at this point, he spends most of his time inside, but certainly willing to support the outside service team. I think that's one of the great things about Josh's mindset is it's not what the job is, it's helping out the team, helping out his fellow teammates. And one of the really fun things watching him go from kind of a 17-year-old looking for a summer job to a 20-year-old in college is now he has sparked interest in becoming a golf professional. So he's starting his early stages of buttoning up some of his own golf game, but also the entry-level steps into the PGA and pursuing the PGM program at PPCC. So it's a pleasure to work with Josh. He has a great mindset, really cares about Perry Park. His grandma and grandpa who had a home here when he was a young child. This is a special place for him, and he really appreciates the members and those of you that have supported him along the way. Thanks for letting us talk about it. I think I will end here because I am up on my slide next. All right, so golf operation. As you saw there in finances, July was pretty healthy. Helped us step back a little bit towards where we'd like to be after a couple tough months in May and June. But a busy month, and kind of leading straight into that update. Both men's and women's invitationals happened in the last few weeks. were very good. So Ray kind of highlighted some of the financial successes of the official, but a lot of good feedback, great event for those that were able to participate. And just good to see members enjoying their club and the whole team coming together to support that. So one of the really fun things about whether men's or women's invitational is everyone gets to kind of show off what they do best. So whether that's chef there putting together awesome food, Jason highlighting the golf course, which was in fantastic shape, or all the other team members coming together. And even Lori shows her financial chops there in the parametrical thing. Which, one thing to highlight is that's a huge role and it's something that, you know, not every club's business manager or controller would step into. So we're incredibly fortunate to have that. Sure, you're very grateful to do it. Upcoming events, so the season's still very much not over. Next thing on our radar is the club championships. So that's both men's, women's, and seniors, both the men and women that weekend. So that's the 27th and 28th. A lot of different flights, a lot of different competitions going. Something that if you're not playing in now, you should certainly consider. Keeping in mind that you don't need to be the best player in the club to participate in the club championship. Multiple flights, both gross and net. A lot of opportunities to get involved with a fun 2 days of competition choose. For men, the next big event after that is the Classic. So Classic's on a wait list. However, if you're not on that wait list, it's a pretty short wait list. I would expect that we may run out of people. Right now, there's 3 teams on the wait list. Knowing how life goes, highly probable that more than 3 teams fall out of the Classic in the next 3 weeks. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about it, definitely encourage you to get on. That could be member guest or member teams for that one, 2-man teams. And then Fall Frolic, which is the 14th. Good field for that. We're just about 100 players. Going to be a lot of fun. That's a 1-day event, and looking forward to hosting that. So season is still very much alive, and another month and a half of competition. Any questions?
No, online.
Perfect.
Thank you, Kate. You're all right.
Hey Keith, this isn't necessarily related to you, but when we do the employee of the month, could we have that employee here? Can we invite them or do we invite
Ceiling
them?
was too low for Josh.
We used to.
It'd be nice to have them here. I recognize every good point.
Sam was dreading that.
We're gonna do a speech.
He's gonna make a leader in this.
Just be nice to have them.
Evening, everybody, and for all of those online, Jason Cook here, golf course superintendent. Golf course still getting a lot of rave reviews. Mother Nature's been very kind to me in terms of some very well-timed rains, we'll call that. Last night's wasn't so well-timed, but just gonna make up for it every once in a while. We got about just over 2 inches of rain in the last, I'll call it now 28 hours. Golf course handled it fairly well. There's a little bit more in the forecast for this evening, so hopefully that doesn't turn into much. What that kind of equates to us from a maintenance standpoint is a lot of washed out bunkers, a lot of water standing in bunkers. 15 cart path tends to be the worst in terms of washout and erosion still. So 15 and number 3 are both up there in terms of time consuming items that have to get repaired just in general related to golf preparation. But for the most part, we're at just under 2.65 inches of rain for August so far, which isn't far behind the 2.75 for July. So we're turning at about 8 1/4 for this rainy season, obviously not including snow. So positive is about every time we catch a 90-degree spell and the spots start to show up on the golf course, we get a nice little rain after that, which levels everything back out. The natural moisture is always much better. From a staffing standpoint, still looking to fill our first assistant superintendent position, and currently have 1 full-time position that's open and available, 1 full-time seasonal. But we have a couple of leads on that. Quick update on the project. Phase 1's complete for hole number 18. My favorite people here reminded me last week that now I can't say I have all perfect greens because we still have one that looks a little shoddy.
The new 18 green looks terrible.
Patchy, all these little tops everywhere,
You see it on the 1st of October.
super bumpy,
Not many ball marks.
only one. Just the one. I know, so we seeded that in late July. Seed popped up, germinated within 4 days, which is very beneficial from seeding at this time of the year. Looks fantastic. We'll get a mow on it tomorrow. Probably we rolled it today just to get it all smoothed out with all that rain. We get a quick mow on it already, yeah, for sure. So our game plan will be to continue to fertilize that to push maturity and density and coverage. But with that storm, the drainage that was installed around that green and in that green and those bunkers, all that functioned. We watched that today. It was kind of neat. Mike and I, like a bunch of 12-year-old kids out there playing in rain puddles, moving sandbags around. So I am on my second set of books. Other than that, again, a successful men's invitational, successful women's invitational. Coming up at the end of the month, we do have our fall cultural practices, which will be similar to our springtime, deep solid tine application of the greens, a light top dress. We'll verticut some of the thatchier, higher population bent grass fairways, try to get some channels into those, to get some water movement down and manage the thatch. And top dress the approaches with sand, and that's where we're at. Have that already and prep good for the classic. Any questions?
When do you plan on opening the tee boxes on one?
So they've been mowed a few times. There really isn't a set date to open them right now. Conversation with Keith, and probably later on in the fall, we can look at moving those over. Just a preview round. There's a couple of photos here the next couple of slides. One of the existing 18, the new 18 green. And then the second one would be the 18 tees. So yeah, there's my shoddy looking green actually.
That was.
Looks fantastic for 10 days old, actually. And then one of the number 18 tees, which actually looks better than Kevin's Photoshop when he originally proposed that. So pretty positive.
Where's the statue gonna go? The eagle?
There's been some discussion of that. There isn't a permanent resting spot yet.
I know it's just been moved over.
Whether it moves further, whether it moves far right of the new white tee on number 1 and stays in that same peak location, or a potential consideration would be moving it down the hill in between the cart paths on phase 2. A triangle that goes up through there, so people would see it as they're going around 2 maxes or up to the hill. I have to do some research, find out if that was placed there for a particular reason.
I thought it was gonna be down below finally, but wherever.
The woman couple who donated it were here for the women's invitational, and she said the club owns it, so they get to do whatever they want.
Oh, that's
Great, thank you,
nice.
James.
There's research. There's his research.
Right, membership and land.
Hey, everyone. So we changed the slides around just a little bit, so hopefully our story will be a little more clear, but we're gonna start out with our membership cap data. So this is where we are, or where we were as the July 31st. Our count to cap is 305.5. And as you can see the breakdown right there, those are the memberships that count towards the cap. Right? The top 3 updates are going to be our acquisitions. We had a killer July, 3 full golf memberships, 1 junior and 4 social. Our full member equivalents ended up in July at 287.2, and our budget was 282.8, so almost 5 ahead. We're happy with that as well. 731 year-to-date leads. So those are people reaching out to us, or we're reaching out to them and collecting their data to collect their data and for potential members going forward. Our full golf initiation fee is 12,000, junior is 6,000, our social is 500, and we've acquired 12 full golf memberships at the 12,000 pricing. This is all the membership data by type. So these are active members. So total golf and social. And the grand total is going to be 528, including our one leave of absence that didn't elect to be a social during that time. Alrighty, so this is going to be our budget data. So this will show breakdown kind of the full member equivalents and where we stand for the year. Once again, we're ahead. The data on the left can kind of show what the budget is in orange and the actual is in blue. These are going to be our resignations. We did have 2 resignations in July, one social, one professional. And that reasoning was due to moving. And then total golf for the year 29 and total social for the year 16. This is our whole member equivalent resignation percentage rate. This is current month to date below. The light blue is from last year and the dark blue is from this year. So we've had a turn down from June to July, which is great. Looks like we're right around the same area as we were last year. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year turns out. We did budget pretty heavily for resignations for this point of the year going forward, because historically we've had more resignations toward the end of the year. In marketing, we are advertising on Instagram and Facebook. We are going to be heavily posting our membership. Let's see, our 2 open houses that we're having in September. So more to come next month. And then total active email contacts, which leads. This is collected over years. We have 4,690 active email contacts. And then for our members, we're doing a running percentage rate for opens for our fair reviews. So last month, we sent our emails out to 858 member email addresses, and 640 people ended up opening that with fair reviews. And then for our July weekly reminders, we sent out, the average was 487 opens for those Sunday weekly reminders that we sent out.
So Lana, on your active email contacts, what does that mean? Do you send something to them every month, or what does that mean?
So active email contacts are leads basically that
Right.
have inquired about information. So basically those emails go out when we have membership specials, open houses, invitation to play for the day,
Okay.
things like that. We are working with the membership committee to produce a strategic plan for the club. So we did meet, and that's going to be a continuous thing. If you want to elaborate, Gary.
No, we're just continuing to work on the strategic plan and membership as a good piece to provide us information on how we achieve full membership.
Do we have any questions on that information?
No questions online? Thank you, Anna. Yeah. Good job. So, Chef Kevin?
Hello, everybody. Clubhouse projects, we're working on getting the deck sealed with a 2-part epoxy, still working on prices and product. Joey met with somebody today to get some of the prices put together on that and the products. Chimney work is done. We'll be able to use the chimney this fall for the fall season, winter season.
That's the chimney in the brand.
Yes, sir. New gas meter will be installed on the 29th during aerification. Hopefully everything goes well with that.
Just a question.
Go ahead.
On the 2-part epoxy, is that something that will then be maintainable in the next couple of years, or is it an every year process?
It should be something that we can maintain a couple years, last for a couple years or more. And what we'll have to do most likely is, do a little bit of sanding on the concrete.
To adhere.
Yes, exactly. Member events, Women Invitational went very well. The Vanna night was, very well attended. I think the pig roast went very well. We've got the, August 19th kids event. Would you like to, talk about that?
So we paired that with Couples Hall. And we are sold out for the kids event. This coming Friday.
And how was karaoke? Was that well attended? I was in Grand Junction.
Yes, it was very busy that evening. Also went well.
August 26th is music on the deck.
John Grosh will be playing that evening, who's also a member.
Does he play guitar or would?
Yes,
Guitar?
soloist, guitar, Americana.
Number 3, staffing. Some of the employees are back to school working on getting the spots covered. We do have a new person that started today, Chandler.
Yes.
So yeah, we're getting that stuff covered up. One big topic here that I wanted to bring up is Tri-County is no longer overseeing Douglas County. Douglas County is now developing their own health department. We have not been visited by the health department this year, except for when we had our freezer installed. We haven't seen them at all. They usually come somewhere around June or July. So I'm sure that will be visited by Douglas County as soon as they have everything put in line. And then just one other thing I'd like to bring up is thanks to all the hardworking Perry Park staff. It's been a long summer and we have worked very hard to achieve what we wanted. Do you have anything to say on that?
We have a phenomenal staff. They work very hard and work long hours, and a lot of them don't know the industry, but are learning and improving daily. So, they have the foundation, and it's just a matter of keeping them engaged and on board to continue to grow with Perry Park.
Any questions?
What's the status of the HVAC system?
It was approved. We're just kind of going into planning mode now.
It'll be installed, Michael, when we have the shutdown in January. So all we have to do is figure out schedule to clear the kitchen, do all the installation, and then open it up again.
Pretty much in the beginning of January, the kitchen crew will take all the equipment out of the kitchen, clean it, and then we'll secure it. And then that'll make room for to get the HVAC on. You're welcome.
So Jill says, Jill Arthur says, fantastic job, house staff. Appreciate it. Otherwise, I have nothing else. So next slide, please. Member comments, any member comments? Nothing here online. Nothing in the room here. All right, great.
Wait.
I'm sorry, we did.
When I talked earlier, I primarily focused on the finance part.
Okay.
One, I'd like to thank all the staff, managers and stuff that helped to put this together for us this last Men's Invitational. They all did a heck of a job. Thanks to Lori for working with me, which is sometimes a pain in the whatever.
She never said that.
No.
But she didn't use whatever, she probably said it. But anyway, working with her and putting the financials together. As we look to next year, which is our 50th, we have a code savings account with the club that will look at utilizing some of that to make the 50 experience something special. We do expect a full field next year, and I know several have told me that they're waiting to play in the 50th, and then they'll probably be done in the invitational. They've come on to to experience.
Are you talking players or?
Players. But some of the things we'll probably end up doing this year is we had trouble with trophies and our store concept that we had got hit by supply chain issues. I know Chef gets his supply chain issues. We're gonna start ordering our stuff for next year, this year. So we may be tapping into some of those funds in the calendar year 2022. So that we're sure we have everything on board for next year's tournament.
Right, so it'd be interesting, I think, for the 50th thing is a bit of a landmark thing. I understand that the number of competitors is limited, yes, so many people on course. But it might be nice, given this celebration, the committee can figure out about what I need to include more of the members. Like for a social event, like the women who want to see have a smaller field. But it'd be kind of nice to do that and share that celebration if that's all possible.
Well, kind of, we have done that every year in terms of people coming out for the shootouts. The Defense Invitational Committee or the committee provides free beer and margaritas during the shootouts. And that's available to anybody who comes out to watch. So we kind of opened it up that way. We're limited on participants. 128 players on the court at the same time. That is capacity. As we look at our Saturday night function, we're pretty much at capacity there with what we can do. And we expect more people that sometimes don't come, will come next year. So we're pretty tight as far as capacity goes on our events.
Ray, everybody last year, you know, they get invited this next year.
Yes.
All right, great.
You owe Lori a pretty nice shade, you know, counting all the money that you got it over
Right. The next meeting is September 20th, so I think it's in 5 weeks. Usual time at 5 p.m. And
I would like to just announce that there is going to be Meet the Candidate Night, September 7th. People can put it on their calendar. There will be more in the Fairway Views coming out in September
Okay.
with 4 candidates.
So I need a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Uh,
Thank you very much.